Coming to you now live from the Burgess stage to explore the future of digital transport infrastructure, please welcome Adrian Malone, Head of Digital Project Delivery and BIM at WSP.
Great to be talking to you all this afternoon. I'm Adrian Malone. As you heard, I'm Head of Digital Project Delivery and BIM at WSP for Transport and Infrastructure. And what I'm going to be doing this afternoon is sharing with you a vision for digital transport infrastructure. This is a vision that I've been working on with my colleagues in WSP, and what I'd like to say about this vision is that it's not intended to be the final answer. So this is our contribution to what I hope will be a much broader discussion across the infrastructure sector and is already happening in a number of places in terms of what the future is going to look like and how we get there. I strongly believe we need to do that with client organizations, with other suppliers, and with wider stakeholders. And that's incredibly important. And the reason for that is the best futures are the ones that we co-create together. So what I'm going to do today is share with you a little bit about that vision. And we're going to start with some key principles that we've been working on in terms of what we've pulled together. And the first of those is about a better customer experience. So we believe that we really need to put the customers right at the heart, their experience right at the heart of the design process and right at the heart of the way we deliver transport infrastructure to our end users, to the road users that we ultimately serve. Increased efficiency, incredibly important. So we're looking at how we drive efficiency through every stage of delivery. And finally, all around enhanced stakeholder collaboration, because ultimately to achieve those first outcomes, we really need to get the stakeholder collaboration right, because that's what drives those outcomes forward and allows us to achieve them. So that's at the heart of what we're going to talk about. What I'm going to share with you is a little bit about technology, and then we'll go on and talk about the implications of that technology in terms of the impact it can have. So in terms of the technology, what we've been doing is we've been looking at the technology that we think is going to emerge, that's already beginning to emerge over the next few years, and how that might fit together and come together to create a new delivery environment for transport infrastructure. So there's a chap called William Gibson, who was a science fiction author. He coined this phrase back in the 1980s when he said the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. And what he meant by that is if you want to look at the technology that's going to influence our lives in the future, what you need to do is look at what's happening today in terms of innovation, in terms of research, in terms of the innovation that's happening. Things like the rapid engineering model, for example, that Highways England have been developing, and then extrapolate out what that's going to look like over the next few years. And that's what we've been trying to do as part of this vision. So 3 bits of technology I'm going to share with you. And I'm not going to major on technology today, but I did want to talk about 3 trends that we see coming over the horizon. The first is around design automation. So we've seen a lot of this, and the work that Highways England have been doing with the rapid engineering model has been a really fantastic innovation in this area. So how do we automate the design process, and how do we iterate that automation to extend its scope and its reach over time? So in terms of design automation in the road sector, my view is we need to get behind rapid engineering model. We need to drive that forward as an industry. The other 2 are slightly more interesting. They're a little bit behind design automation, but they are coming over the horizon quite rapidly. And they are around manufacturing-based production methods, so project lifecycle management. So we're looking there at productization and something called a digital twin. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those 2. They come from the manufacturing sector predominantly, and they're beginning to find their way into our environment now. So in terms of the digital twin, so the digital twin is an exact digital replica of a real-world asset. Okay, now that might sound a little bit like BIM, but the difference is that the digital twin goes much further than that. So the digital twin is connected to the real infrastructure asset. Okay, so if we think about maybe a digital twin of a smart motorway, then when you went into that digital twin, you would be able to perhaps see real-time traffic flows through that section of motorway. If you looked at a gantry sign, it might tell you what's being displayed at that moment on that sign at that section of motorway. It might even be possible to program the sign in the physical asset by making some changes in the digital twin and having those cascade out, because there's 2-way communication between the 2. One of the key things I think from our purpose in terms of the digital twin is what it does is it brings together a huge amount of data, real-time data, dynamic data, but also static data into one environment. So gone will be the days of having some data over here, some data over there, having to work to pull it together. We'll have a single set of data in one place, and that's very powerful because that's when we can really begin to apply the advantages of artificial intelligence and machine learning and advanced analytics to that data and get some really rich outcomes out of that, which we'll come on to. So digital twin is going to be really interesting. We've talked about automated design already in terms of the rapid engineering model. The only thing I want to mention here is the opportunity that's created or could be created when we combine the digital twin with the rapid engineering model. So we've got that huge contextual base of accurate data which can then be fed into the automation engine. The possibilities there for enhanced outcomes, I think, are really powerful. And that's something that I'd love to see us explore as a sector. The final piece that I want to talk about in terms of technology, and it's not really just technology, it's about the production process, but it's about productization. So productization has taken those best practices from the manufacturing sector and bringing them into our environment and thinking about how we standardize and componentize the elements of an asset. So if we're taking a smart motorway scheme, for example, what does that look like as a set of products? What does that look like in terms of a set of components? How those components fit together as a system? How those systems then get applied and assembled on site, hopefully in a way that minimizes disruption to road users and maximizes efficiencies. And then what does that look like as a platform at an asset level, where you're starting then to manage the asset and connect that data back into the digital twin environment. So there's a whole range of things that we need to play with there, but I think putting those three technologies and those three methods of working together could be incredibly powerful. What I wanted to do for the remainder of the time was to focus in, actually, not on the technology itself, but on the impact that technology could have for road users and also what that means for professionals working in this sector. And I'd like to share with you a hypothesis, which you can see on the screen behind me, which is that digital will free engineers to focus more on customer value. And often I hear this when I talk to people about digital and the impact of digital. People often say, so the automation, the robots, the computers, they're going to make us all redundant, right? They're going to take our job. I don't believe so. I think what they do is they free us up to focus on value creation, to focus on the outcomes and the outputs that are going to have the biggest impact on road users, on the people who use our assets, and the way that we deliver them. So that's the hypothesis, and that's something that we've been exploring through this series that we've been publishing on our website. You can access it through the URL at the bottom, and please do take a look if you haven't done already. What we've been doing in this series is walking through a number of those technologies in more detail than I can do today, but understanding what that means for people, understanding what that means for customers, understanding what that means for transport professionals, for engineers, understanding the impact on that in terms of how we work. So we've looked at a whole range of things. We've looked at the digital twin and what the digital twin means for the way that we create and manage and deliver transport infrastructure, for the way we manage roads. We've looked at the role artificial intelligence could play. We've looked at the way that automated design can increasingly influence the way that designers work and what impact that has. But I think most importantly, we've looked at how digital can then help to give enhanced stakeholder communication and collaboration, going back to that important point about collaboration, and also how that can potentially enhance the way we engage with road users, so the way we engage with our customers. And to keep that customer focused and to keep that really centered on customers and on people, we've created a range of personas. So we've gone out and done some research, and we've created some persona groups that reflect real-world road users. And at every stage, we've thought, how does this technology impact those people? What does it mean? What's their story? So we've created a persona of a truck driver, an HGV driver called Alonzo Gregory, for example. We've got the Taylor family. We've also got Tammy Hay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share the story of Tammy, just as one example of the kind of persona stories that we've created that aim to bring to life the technology and the impact that technology is going to have. So this is Tammy. So Tammy is a working mum. She lives in Huddersfield. She commutes 4 days a week to Manchester. She has a little girl called Erica. And Tammy, Monday to Friday, Tammy drops Erica at the childminder on her way to work. And both of those things are really important to Tammy. And where Tammy gets stressed is if she gets any kind of congestion or difficulty in her journey, because that impacts either on her ability to drop Tammy and get to work, or equally important, her husband picks up Erica in the evening, but what Tammy hates to do is to miss bath time and bedtime. Those things are really important when you've got a little one, as many of us know. So Tammy's story, I've just mapped out as a bit of a sort of customer journey map here. And it starts on the left-hand side, and you can see there the smiley face, so everything's going pretty well. Tammy's got a morning routine working well. She's dropping Erica off at the childminder. She's getting off to work. She's coming back home. But over time, that begins to run into some challenges. So Tammy's beginning to notice that she's having to leave earlier in the morning because she's run into some congestion before she gets onto the motorway. And that means she's having to drop Erica at the childminders earlier in the morning. And anybody who's got young children, as I have, knows that that extra 10 minutes in the morning can make the world of difference. So Tammy ends up more stressed. That passes on to Erica, who is more unsettled, which means that when she's dropped at the childminder, she's not having such a good day that she could otherwise have. So this is having real impact on kind of real people. So what Tammy had forgotten was that she'd signed up to a smartphone app that allowed information about her commute to be shared into this digital twin that we're imagining exists in the future. And what the digital twin is, captures all this data from Tammy and from other people who've signed up to this and brings it together with a whole bunch of other data. And it allows that data to be analyzed by algorithms, by machine learning, by artificial intelligence that scans through this data and spots patterns. And so the computer is coming back and saying there's a problem over here, and it's flagging it proactively to the engineers, to the transport planners, and saying there's a problem here that we should look at. So the first thing Tammy gets is a note saying through her app saying, we've got this, we understand it. We see there's a problem here, we're working on it. Now, Tammy was a bit skeptical to begin with, as understandably. But what she begins to see over time is that her journey starts to get back on track. So you see she starts to get back up to solutions are being generated, they're being implemented. Tammy's journey starts to improve. And we end this little story with things back to how they were, the journey working in the morning, Tammy getting those extra 10 minutes back, Erica being more relaxed and more settled when she's dropped off at the childminders, and everyone's having a better day. So that's the kind of story that we've been playing with in terms of how technology can actually have an impact, a meaningful impact on people's lives. And hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of an illustration. What we've been doing more recently is actually moving on from there and starting to think, how do we bring this to life a bit more? So we've actually just created a short video. It's only 90 seconds long. But what we've done in this video is try to take some of those similar themes and put them into a story which spans through that kind of timeline. So it's a short video, it moves pretty quickly. So before I played it, I wanted to just highlight a few things to look out for in terms of thinking about how technology can impact into the lives of road users. So we'll begin in the video, and you'll see, at the start of the video, you'll see the digital twin come into view. And what the digital twin is doing, importantly at this point, is you'll see it predicting future congestion. Now that's a fantastic opportunity, isn't it? It means we can go and fix the problem before it actually arrives. So you'll see the predictive capability, which is one of the potentials which will come out of the digital twin. The next thing to look out for will be then the analytics which will then become possible. So remember all that data we brought together. So the engineers, the planners are then able to use the digital twin to do some root cause analysis and find the source of that predicted problem and work out some options in terms of what to do about it. So prediction and then analytics are the first two things that you'll see there. The next thing that we'll go on to in the video will be around stakeholder engagement. So you'll see a scene where we've got a mixed team of different stakeholders who are working on the scheme coming together. Some of them you'll see on screens, brought in virtually, some of them are in the room. But what we're getting at there is that there's an opportunity through digital technology to enhance the way that people work together to focus on outcomes. And one of the key bits is they're focusing on customer outcomes and client outcomes rather than just technical challenges in terms of the project. We'll move on then to see that design process. So we've kind of imagined the rapid engineering model moving through its next iteration to the point where you can kind of move sliders back and forth in terms of different metrics which matter, impact on road users, cost, impact on the environment. So those kinds of outcome-based measures which can be tweaked and modified by the engineers to come up with an optimal solution. We'll then move into actually how this impacts the customer, the road user. So we'll move into a scene where there is a team in an office. They get a notification that there's a new road scheme planned just outside of the office park. And one of the first things they're going to ask naturally is, well, where is this scheme? What is it going to look like? So you'll see a scene where they walk to the window, hold up an iPad or a tablet, and through mixed reality they can see out in the kind of the office park, beyond the office park, exactly where this new road is going to be. next step beyond that, they can then ask questions. How is this going to affect my commute to work during construction? So you'll see that happen. And also, what are the benefits are going to be? So there's going to be a little bit of pain while this work's being done. What are the benefits that are going to follow? So again, they'll get feedback on that. So this is trying to make it really customer-centric. And the final bit we'll come on to is then, kind of that's what we're all about in terms of those customer journeys with engaged and positive customers who feel like they're getting a good service and can plan their journey to get the best kind of outcomes in terms of their journey each day. So there's some things to look out for. I'm going to hopefully be able to play the video now with a little bit of help from the back of the room, hopefully. And then so look out for those things. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an illustration in terms of how we see technology coming together, focused in on customers, focused in on collaboration, focused in on stakeholders, driving those better outcomes. It's not really about the technology. The technology just starts to make some of this stuff possible. It involves a huge shift in how we work. And as I said at the start, I don't believe for one moment that that is the final answer. But what I hope is that's some thought-provoking material which perhaps kicks off some discussion, which is a wider discussion about how this can all come together. As I said at the start, the best futures are the futures that are co-created, and I really hope that's something that we're going to see in this sector, focused in on transport over the next few years. So that's everything I wanted to share today. I've left 5 minutes for just question and discussion because I'm really keen to kick off some of that conversation, and I'd really welcome some questions or some thoughts from the floor. Thank you. Yeah, great question. I don't think I could get all of it, but I think I got the gist of it. So I think your question, Jamie, was around the impact that CAVs are going to have, future mobility, etc. And that's a hugely important bit for us to look at. So I haven't captured that in what we presented today, but certainly in WSP we're doing a lot of work in terms of future mobility and connected autonomous vehicles, etc., as indeed are a number of organizations, including your own. And I think that's the point, that we need to bring some of that knowledge together, pool it, and understand what the implications are, because we're going to get into a really interesting time where we've got a mixture of manual driving, semi-autonomous driving, and fully autonomous vehicles all on the same road together. And actually, I think some of that is going to be in terms of HGVs, possibly before it's kind of fully sort of more broadly distributed in terms of in sort of driverless cars. So there's going to be a real mixture of vehicles on the road, and understand how that all fits together, I think, can only be enhanced by things like the digital twin. So one of the articles that we've got, and one of the personas that we created, was of, for example, a truck driver called Alonzo Gregory. Now, Alonzo is an HGV driver, but he's also signed up in this persona story, for a series of trials around connected autonomous vehicles. So the kind of story that we tell is Alonzo, to make the experience immersive for Alonzo, what we've done in this story is we've gone to his actual cab, his truck he drives, we've 3D scanned the inside of his cab, and we've created a 3D simulation inside a games console. We can then feed him road experiences, some of which include new connected autonomous trucks coming onto the network. And actually one of the thoughts we had around this was, wouldn't it be fantastic to use the eye tracking technology and wearable technology in terms of heart rate, etc., to actually not just get Alonso's feedback in terms of what he says he's experiencing in those situations, but as he's driving through the simulation, actually to pick up that unconscious feedback as well, so we can spot the moments that are most stressful for him. So I think there's a route for technology to help us to understand the implications of those things by taking more of a kind of design thinking approach. But you're absolutely right, it's going to be a huge area for us to explore and understand. Great question, thank you. Okay, so I think we're done there. So once again, thank you for listening. I hope that was thought-provoking for you. And please do come and get hold of me afterwards if you've got any more thoughts or questions. Be more than happy to have a chat. Thank you.